Baltic Brand Talks, podcast about all things creative and trending.
Hi everyone, this is Andris Rubins and we are in Baltic Brand Talks. And today I have a great privilege to talk with Head of Marketing and Communications of Volkswagen Baltics, part of Moller Baltic Import, and she's Aleksandra Kostyukovich. Hi Aleksandra.
Hey.
Great to see you here. And I have to start, of course, with saying that Volkswagen has been and still is one of the brands that I really admire, being, in marketing and advertising. And Volkswagen ads are the ads that when I joined the industry many years ago were, those examples that I thought, oh, wow, advertising can be witty, it can be fun, it can be intelligent, it can be smart. It doesn't have to be dull. Would you say it's one of the reasons you joined the Volkswagen as well?
Well, definitely. And I think how I look at those things, I think they're very empowering. I think things you can look like, it can be intimidating or it can be empowering. I think it's empowering because they broke the rules, they did things that nobody did back then. So it's kind of, when you look at it, think everything is possible, thinking outside the boundaries is possible. You can do great things. So yeah, definitely there's a huge legacy. But I think that legacy is empowering for everybody working for the brand.
Yeah. But before we dig in more into Volkswagen Baltics and Volkswagen Baltic marketing experience and some of the success stories, some of the learnings that you've got during the years, maybe you can shortly introduce yourself. What's your background and how you actually decided to join the Volkswagen team?
Sure. I think somebody can say that my career in automotive is accidental. I prefer
What?
Accidental.
Accidental, yeah.
Yeah, but I prefer it was meant to be. So basically, my professional or education-wise, my training is in politics and diplomacy. And but I ended up working for the PR agency at some point in time because of my good language skills. So they're taking me over, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. So there was a colleague who was on a sick leave, and I have to fill it in. And took a project over from her, which was Audi R8 parade, which took place near the Freedom Monument in Riga. And it was like first project for this industry for me. And it was also very technically quite complex because we had to do a lot of permissions with the municipality to make sure that we can drive in certain places. And I don't know if you know how those cars look, but they're very powerful and very, very low.
Very sporty and
yes.
Probably the most luxury car. Audi.
Back then, definitely. Now there's more, but back then, definitely. And they're very low, and we have a lot of cobblestones and a lot of speed bumps. And to make sure that everything works smoothly was a bit of a struggle for me back then. But then when I saw everything come together, it was like, wow. And then basically when you can hear a 600 horsepower engine roar, it doesn't leave you indifferent. So I guess I did a pretty good job because 2 weeks later I received an offer, like if I would like to join the Volkswagen team. As a disclaimer, I work for the Moller Baltic Import, who's importer of Volkswagens in the Baltic states and Audis in Latvia and Lithuania. So this is how the Audi and the Volkswagen story comes together.
But even before that, what's your education? I've heard you also lived for a while in UK.
Yeah, I lived in UK. I have my degree from the University of Warwick, my bachelor's from there. I have it in politics and diplomacy, and initially I wanted to be a diplomat, but I guess didn't work out quite well. Recently, I also got my MBA from the Riga School of Economics. Stockholm School of Economics. Yes. I'm very sorry to my alma mater for not pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, so I guess these are the trainings I got, and you can say that my professional or communications and marketing training only came much later in my career, where I already had established track record in the industry. So I guess it's been my natural calling. I just took me a time to get there.
And those 600 horsepower sounds.
Definitely. Couldn't do without that.
Yeah. And the language skills you mentioned, I suppose that's about the English, that were one of the reasons you were asked to join the PR team.
Yes. I joined as an assistant, and they were like, "Hey, your English is pretty good. We can take you and teach you all the stuff." And I found the job that doing quite inspiring and interesting. And I thought, like, why not? this is somehow connected to what I studied. So, because if you think about it, diplomacy and politics is not that far from communication. So,
no, I think it's very connected, especially the PR. I think it's something where it's one of the areas to be successful. All right, so how is Volkswagen brand and business doing in the Baltics? How would you describe the shape and the situation here?
Overall, I think we've been doing quite good for a very long time. Actually, this year we're celebrating the huge milestone, 30 years since starting operations in the Baltics. It's a bit different number in each of the Baltic states, but at least 30 years in all three countries. This is the milestone we're celebrating. And we're very thankful to our customers who have been loyal for us throughout those years. So if you look at our performance sales-wise, we're usually among top 3 brands, depending on which country you look at. So we've been strong. At the same time, it would be foolish to say that the things are not changing or everything is super stable. Recent years have been very disruptive for the industry as such. You have, even in the Baltics, you have new competitors entering, you have overall decrease in brand loyalty, not only for automotive, but for brands in general. You have geopolitical tension, you have legislative tensions, you have people debating whether we're going to be driving electric fully or not fully, or when exactly it is going to be happening.
Shall we forbid, gasoline or fuel?
Yes, precisely. Should you buy diesel? Should you not buy diesel? Should you go electric now? Should you wait 5 years until they perfect the technology? All of this is going around, and it, of course, creates even more work for us as marketers in a sense, because I believe that brand has never been as important as it is today. So, because especially if you look at the EVs and this technology, the technologies are becoming more kind of universal across different things. So if you want to stand out, the brand is the way you actually stand out among the competition and ensure that you continue your success in the future, and sales are where you want them to be.
And regarding EVs, you proudly write in your LinkedIn profile that you are driving EVs since 2020, which is not something that everybody shares in their profile. So is EV, are you happy with your EV first of all? And also, is it, the fastest rising category also for the Volkswagen brand?
Well, I am a proud EV owner and advocate. I guess if I put it on my profile, that's pretty obvious. But but I guess my reasons for liking EVs may not be that conventional.
Okay.
Why do I like EVs? I think they're fast. They're agile.
Public transport lanes?
No. This is a nice add-on, but this is not the main reason.
Okay.
I actually think they're super convenient. As I said, they're very agile. They're very low running costs associated with EVs. They're very technologically advanced because every single manufacturer is now pushing onto the EV market. So whatever the new technology comes up, it first comes up in an EV car. And they are fun to drive. They're actually fun to drive. They have very small turning angles. You can basically, with a bigger car, turn even on a smaller street. It's actually loads of fun. This is why I like EVs. Of course, there is a conventional argument that I cannot avoid, which is an argument for the climate change. I've heard a quote once, which I think pretty well sums up my feeling about this. I don't think that we're going to solve the climate change with EVs, but I don't think we can solve climate change without EVs. So this is a part of the bigger equation, and they definitely need to be there. There's a lot of debate currently whether the future is electric. I do believe it is, not just because of my job, but also because of my experience with those cars. I think people would love them. If they try them, they would love them. But I do understand that given the things that are going on, that journey or that path might be a bit longer than initially expected by the legislatives.
And how open is Baltic car driver to EVs? Like how quickly are we adopting to this new amazing opportunity, despite, of course, the price levels, which maybe are a bit higher than traditional cars? And also, do you see a kind of different approach in 3 Baltic countries? Is one of the Baltic country more, progressive, let's say? Because, in Nordics, the fact, of course, that Norway has been kind of front runner globally in terms of how many electric cars they have in as a proportion of overall kind of traffic. And that is
92.
Pretty amazing. That is still a kind of can't believe, there's one country who somehow managed this, right? So, how Baltics is doing in this?
Okay, I'll share my thoughts. So most of all, yes, and as you know, as I already mentioned, I work for Baltic, for Moller Baltic Import. We're part of Moller Mobility Group, which is a region-based company. So we do have a lot of learnings from their market, and we know how the dynamics went there. But overall, if you look at the Baltic countries, the fastest adopters are the Lithuanians and the Latvians, and the more conservative approach is coming from the Estonians. They're more conservative in their drivetrain choices, let's put it this way. But if we look at the statistics, 2020 EV share of the new car market was 4%. Today we have 16+%.
1/6?
1/6, yes. So it's basically 4 times more than we used to have 4 years ago. So you can't say that nothing is going on. A lot of has happened. There's this new technology adoption curve. So, there's early majority, there's like early adopters, early adopters, and early majority. So we are kind of in a very good position. We have passed that 10% threshold. So we are in the early majority, which means it will pick up. So it just needs a bit more time, but it will pick up. But if we look like separately on the markets, as I mentioned, Lithuania is the fastest to adopt. They have roughly, I think, 16+% market share in terms of EVs. Latvia is not far behind. I think the last time I checked the figures, this was 15.2%, something like this. The least, as I said, open to the technology
Maybe
is
just a little slower.
No, but I think there are 2 main reasons why. If you wanted to comment, first, in Estonia, there's absence of government incentives. In Latvia and in Lithuania, we do have incentives. One might argue it's not enough, the subsidy. But I think, first of all, they're always improving. And just recently, Latvian government adopted some new policies. But we can see, and this is what the learnings we have from the Norway market. This is one of the key things especially on the early stages when the numbers are very, very low. You need government to incentivize financially the population to adopt. The second aspect is educating the population. And this, I think, is more of a job of the manufacturer. They have to educate on the technology. They have to show and ensure that the people understand how it works. And I think people are generally don't like change. This is just how we are. And especially the older we get, the more reluctant we are to change. But I think very often when we talk about EVs and when people and the governments try to persuade people, they appeal to that rational argument of why it is good for you, why it has low running cost, why are you saving planet, and so on. But me as a marketer, I think what is lacking is emotional appeal, because whether people tend to agree or disagree, I don't think that buying a car is a rational decision. I don't think that any purchasing decision is 100% rational. If you believe so, you're probably lying to yourself.
Yes.
But there's emotional aspect, and I think we have to work a lot on this emotional aspect, like belongingness to the group, the statement that you're making with having the car.
Like my guess is that it's kind of a lot about the freedom. but I don't have research. But like from my own thinking about EVs is like, I like all about it. Besides that, it still feels that you would not be as free, let's say, during your weekend trips or longer travel. And then, of course, you have to start, more of the planning of it. But then if you are used to this kind of improvise and just, do these impulse kind of, trips, then you feel like you would be kind of more restricted, let's say.
I assume you're not an EV driver, right?
I'm this very active phase where I'm looking at them and I actually tested some of them and I love them actually.
Okay.
But then I still kind of discuss with myself about this kind of the freedom and this longer trip part.
I can share maybe some insight of the research we did on the topic. So first of all, you will be surprised how few people have actually driven the car, the actual electric car. And I mean not driving, not just taking a loop around the dealership, but actually going on a trip for that. This is the first thing. And I think the first thing you have to do is actually drive it. Second of all, if we look at the modern EVs, and I'm not talking about somebody produced 5 years ago, I'm talking about somebody right now on the market, they can easily do 600-700 kilometers on a single charge. Look, let's think when was the last time you did 600-700 kilometers on a single charge. So it's probably not your daily trip. And if you really want to go somewhere,
trips are fine.
You'll actually get there. And there's also another element. I'm going to probably do the very feminine analogy, but once you're pregnant, you start noticing people with strollers everywhere. Once you start driving EV cars, you start noticing how many chargers there are, and you will actually find out there's not a problem to get charged at all.
That's I think a great kind of trick that you could use in the marketing, and I really believe that that's how it works. That if you start noticing, you will see a lot of them.
Yeah. And as I said, like never left on an EV road, with the EV on the road with an empty battery. But I also like one aspect like many people fear is this empty battery fearness. We even have a term for that. So but
even I saw this TikTok video of one of the influencers in Latvia who kind of were left somewhere between Liepāja and Grobiņa in her empty battery during minus 15 degrees and her crying on TikTok. And again, it's one of the case of maybe many thousands, but still, as you said, it's emotional thing, and you think, okay,
she probably, when she used to, I'm not want to speculate, but I guess she was one of those people who tried to, even when the conventional car says 0, she still continued driving.
Probably
testing the limits, I would say. But overall, it's quite difficult to be left on the road without a charger nowadays.
All right. No, I really love also seeing more EVs and more charging stations. So I believe the future is electric. I don't know who used this slogan, but I think I've heard it somewhere.
It's been, on
somewhere around.
Around for a while.
Yeah. So, but coming back to also Volkswagen brand legacy with their iconic and witty ads, like, think small of, the famous Beetle ad that was used when the Volkswagen launched the Beetle in States, more than 60 years ago, of Bill Bernbach and DDB at that time. And that was actually voted as the most influential ad of 20th century when, millennial happened. And then there was a lot of kind of these, surveys of the century, and this was that. It's actually on my wall in my office. The other one of my favorite slogans and ads is "It's ugly, but it gets you there," which is also famous for its this brutal honesty and this also witty humor, and if you can agree, or if you can be honest about some things where you're not perfect. Of course, just like Avis said, who says that, we are just second, but we try harder, and our ashtrays are more clean in our rental cars and so on. It kind of really humanizes the brand, but also makes you believe in even more in those positive aspects that they talk about themselves. So, does it put extra pressure on this, all this Volkswagen advertising legacy when you have to with your partners create next Volkswagen ad, or it's rather a guideline or a kind of a guiding light?
I would say it's as I said previously in the beginning of our conversation, I see it as empowering, because I think it gives you the understanding that non-conventional way or trying new things or making mistakes is fine. It's okay. You can do that, and only this way you can achieve something. Because I think if you look at it as intimidating, you're probably not going to get anywhere, because I don't think you can kind of replicate that or do the same thing. And this is not something you should strive for, but having that as a legacy. And I think this is one of the things why I like to work about the brand, because of the strong marketing legacy. And it's cool even in such a distant way to be a part of something so big. So yes, for me, it's something empowering. And for me, all those ads are about emotions. They create immediate emotional response. Even if you don't get it, the emotion of like, what? It's also an emotion, but it's like it never fails.
But then when you get it, actually, which happened to me several times with Volkswagen ads, then it sticks.
It sticks, yes. And it creates an emotional response. And for me, like this is the only basic thing I am looking at, and when I'm looking into campaigns, whether it creates an emotional response. If it's not, for me, I guess it's not a very good solution.
And I guess you have managed to create some of pretty humorous and witty campaigns also in the Baltic market, and one of the campaigns with the slogan "Never Say Never." That was a campaign for EVs to actually boost this EVs reputation. That actually, people who maybe some years ago said that never, maybe they should actually, look at it again, and it got awarded in Baltic Communication Awards. So why did it work so well? And And how easy is it to make a resonating campaign?
Okay, I think I have to start with a disclaimer. So I'm barely a messenger. This campaign was created by my talented colleague Anta Jansson and Enter Creative and Renar Slepiņš. I was on a maternity leave, but I will be more than happy to tell you more about it.
Okay.
So just to make sure that we're clear on that. So about why, I think the reason why it worked is pretty simple, because it evoked the emotional response. It basically created some laughed, was joy, surprise, maybe some.
Can you shortly,
describe the campaign?
Describe it, yeah.
Okay, so basically we had a couple of visuals. None of those visuals have actually featured the car, which is also quite groundbreaking, I guess, for the car advertising.
For me, the most kind of stunning outdoor ad was, because I'm driving every morning and seeing it was this guy in a pink skirt or something like this.
Basically what's said, like it appealed to the fact that people say I would never do something, and then actually the situation in life is that what we thought we would never do like 2 years or 3 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, now we find ourselves doing, and we exploited on that idea. So the ad that you're referring to had featured the father with 2 girls, and it said basically I thought I would never wear pink until I became a father. And the part about the cars was basically you change, so cars change too. Try a Volkswagen electric vehicle. So this was pretty kind of straightforward message. And as I said, there was just a father wearing pink, playing with his daughters, and there was no cars at all. The only kind of reference to the cars was the small text below and the Volkswagen logo, of course. And there was a series of those images. We also had one with a mother and with a small boy, and it was a basketball theme. And it was said, I thought I was never a fan about the sports until I became a mom. So this kind of stuff. So we appeared to some very natural emotions and very natural occurrings that people can relate to and say, maybe I should consider. So this was the whole purpose of it. And as I said, I think why it was successful, it's pretty simple, because it created that emotional response. Some people liked it a lot. Some people maybe didn't like it, but it didn't left anybody indifferent. And this was the main reason why it got noticed. The good thing about it, it was actually very successful, not only marketing-wise, so KPIs like views, shares, like likability and this kind of stuff. It's actually given us a significant boost, because one of the KPIs that we had from a business side, we wanted to boost the request for EV test drives, and we managed to do so. What's more, we managed to sell loads of cars after those test drives. So technically in 2023, we became the most sold EV car brand in the Baltics, and I'm proud to say that we still are. The first figures for half of the year are out, and we're still the most sold brand. About the recognition, I think it's also why I think this campaign was so successful, and another kind of thing that legitimizes it, that we got request from the Volkswagen AG. They actually invited us over to Germany to present the campaign and show it to other markets. They thought it was very witty and very successful.
Wolfsburg.
So, yes, we went. The team went to Wolfsburg, myself included, and we did the whole presentation. We told them how we did it, why we did it. And similar to the audience here in the Baltics, everybody had an emotional response to that. So I guess this is the main reason. The next question, I think, was about how difficult it is to create one. While I could not be a judge of that, I don't believe that things that come along with a lot of difficulty and time are always the best thing. Sometimes it's just the combination of the right circumstances and the right place. For us, it was more of a very talented creative team, plus us as a client being willing to risk, because probably can guess that putting an advertising for the car without the car is not something that you would be able to do on an everyday basis. But it worked, and we loved it, and we loved it so much that actually this mid-October you're going to see a wave 2.
Oh, nice.
I'm not going to reveal what others never say never things you're going to see there, but I think it's very witty, and I had my doubts whether we can kind of match it, but I think it's going to be really, really good. So still stay tuned for more.
See. You never know with the sequels. Sometimes they are amazing. Sometimes they feel like they can't compete with the original one. But I think if the brand can find the platform that can be extended, it's always a great opportunity to try. Yeah, any other, great projects or success stories that you want to share? And by the way, for the podcast listeners, we will share those campaigns that we just talked about we will share the links in the Spotify and other platforms.
Oh, yeah, sure. I would like to I think one more campaign that is worth mentioning is the recent Tiguan launch. I think what we haven't touched with Never Say Never is that it also was the first 100% IE made campaign. So we did it with artificial intelligence. All those children and the father and everything else you saw is all IE made. So it was like something groundbreaking for us, and then we later found out there was probably one of the first in the Baltics, which was like 100% IE made, not just elements, but the whole visuals. And back then in 2023, when IE was mostly famous for doing small images and adding extra hands or extra heads, it wasn't the most easy things to do. So yeah, so we kind of built on that IE experiment when we were doing the Tiguan launch. And for the Tiguan launch, we basically, like, let's be honest, it's just another car launch. Nobody's that interested in the new car launch. They're neither rare nor it's something special occasion. But for us, business-wise, Tiguan is one of the most important models, as this is where the money is made. And this is what we sell in huge volumes. So we wanted, and we basically had no choice. We have to make it big. We have to make it noteworthy. So the concept and the kind of the creative message of the campaign was new Tiguan is in the air. So we did two, I would say, straightforward but not so obvious thing with it. So first, we used the smell as one of the key campaign elements. So we basically created a special smell for the Tiguan that we called the new Tiguan smell, and we distributed that smell to everybody for free in the form of the air freshener. So we had huge, actually car-sized air fresheners hanging in the malls. We perfumed our dealerships, and we're giving out those small perfumed scent that air fresheners that you put in your cars. We were giving them out in the malls, in the showrooms, and even for people who collected, for instance, the cars from the dealers from washing or after the repairs.
What is the scent about? Is it something that you invented yourself? Or
I guess it was like we've been working with somebody who does the scents, and he created something for us. But it was something we had a lot of voting, which is the best, and so on and so forth. But the idea is coming from the fact that what is the one thing that you notice when you sit down in a new car? It has this particular new car smell that you can't mix with anything else. Of course, we didn't use that new car smell. We created something similar, but we worked on that idea. And for this project, we worked with Gatis Murnieks. He was the one who gave us this smell idea. Then the second kind of obvious thing with the Tiguan in the air, we actually literally, or not so, using a CGI, we raised a Tiguan in the air. And we had this video with, if you remember the Up movie with the
where the house was flying.
With the house was flying with the, like, thousands of balloons. This is pretty much what we did with the Tiguan, and we flew it all over the Baltic states. So we actually physically filmed kind of the staged version of how the car is about to raise in the sky, and then we used the CGI to show where the car is flying over like well-known Baltics locations, and like those videos went viral. We loved it, but I must share that the response we received was not what we initially expected. We thought it is obvious that this is staged, that this is kind of not real. Nothing is actually flying. But the comment sections under those videos proved us otherwise. Everybody discussed. There was like huge debates of people telling, so how did they manage to do it? Is there big balloons underneath it? Are they actually having a helicopter that is raising it? Or what is going to happen if that thing falls on somebody's head? And so on and so forth. Even like,
they thought about safety at all.
Yes. And even our own colleagues, like working for the Volkswagen, but not for marketing department, were approaching us with their own theories of how they actually make it fly. So it was maybe a bit too realistic, I guess. But I think we achieved what we wanted. We went viral. Everybody knew that the new Tiguan is there. So, and once again, I think what is important, not only the marketing KPIs, the classic like reach and so on. And last time we checked, actually, our videos viewed more than 2 million people. Like altogether, we had multiple things. But what is important is the sales. Have you achieved what you wanted in terms of sales? And here I'm happy to say that we did. We actually sold much more cars than we initially expected to sell. And in Latvia, for instance, the new Tiguan is the most sold car among the privates this year so far. So I guess you can say
so
it was
some people
quite successful.
Still wait for their new cars, as you can't probably keep all of them here.
No, but actually when you order the new car, I don't know if you're familiar with the process, like 6 months waiting period is pretty normal. And usually,
it's a tough time.
I know.
I just recently went through it. It's a tough time.
Yeah, but if you want it made from scratch based on your specifications, you have to give them time.
That's what you get out of it. Yeah. So, Volkswagen is a global brand, a truly global brand, and we also discussed those kind of globally maybe well-known campaigns and activities. But seems like you have a lot of freedom here in Baltics to actually create your own concepts and ideas, which is not every day for every global brand. So how do you kind of manage these, relationships, having global brand guidelines and principles, but then still being able to experiment locally or it's still very controlled by the global brand team?
I think like many mistakenly think that if you work for the global brand, then you necessarily are just basically sitting there localizing whatever the big minds, in our case in Germany,
but Apple, I think, just do like this. And many
I'm saying like it's general perception of having the position with a global brand. But for us, it's a bit different, I would say. We actually have, you will be surprised how much freedom that we actually have to do things locally. And basically, we can create everything from scratch. Of course, we have in terms of the brand mission, a vision, we have this, and we use it as a roadmap. So it basically gives you a path to follow. It gives you the end game or the destination. And I think it's quite difficult to go somewhere without a destination. So in this case, it serves as a roadmap where to go. But the journey and how we get there is basically loads of up to us. So yes, we are very proud of the fact that we're able to create a lot of things from scratch here. And I guess this is what makes this job
And maybe that's
exciting.
One of the reasons why Teslas are not as popular here in Baltics. I haven't seen any local ad besides, of course, different startups who kind of...
Technically, there's no official representation of Tesla, at least until recently. I know that they have just opened the office in Lithuania, so the things will change. And it's new competitor. It's always good for the end customer that the competition is coming in. Yeah, but so far Tesla have not had official representation, which probably means why they haven't had any official advertising locally present.
Yeah, and also reading what Elon Musk writes on his own platform now. I'm kind of getting from kind of a Tesla fan a couple of years ago into maybe not at all being a Tesla fan anymore. But that's another story for probably another podcast. So how significant are the cultural differences in Baltics? Because from I don't know, Wolfsburg, probably it looks like one small region with kind of the same more or less attitudes, mindset, lifestyle. Do you see differences, and do you adopt locally some of the activations for Volkswagen?
Well, you're absolutely right in assuming that for the Wolfsburg, which is a headquarters for the Volkswagen Group, they see it as Balticum. They call us Balticum, which is Baltics in German, and they think we're pretty much one region with similar economical and cultural background. But I would assume that anybody who's in a similar position as myself, working for the Baltic market, would agree that we are actually very much different. There's some similarities, of course, but there's loads of differences. If I have to pinpoint the main differences that I have come across during my work, I would like to point to two. So first one is this responsiveness and reciprocity towards the things that they receive. And here, I think the most generous are the Lithuanians. They give you this response. Whether it's positive or negative, this is a different story. But they're engaging with whatever you're putting in front of them, and this is very, very valuable feedback when you go back and kind of rethink and do your post-factum work.
The least introverted nation out of three.
Definitely. And as you can probably guess, the Estonians are the most reserved. And I think this is what makes marketing in Estonia and working in Estonia a bit more difficult in a sense, because you have to do a lot of guesswork and a lot of let's try and see if that works or not, and then working from actually practical cases.
Sounds like Japan, where you basically just see, head shaking.
Yeah. So in this way, I would say this is kind of one of the things that I would like to pinpoint. The second thing is how do we consider who we are? So if you talk to somebody in Lithuania or in Latvia, they do consider themselves to be part of the Baltics. They're like, we are from the Baltics. We're the Baltic countries. Yeah. If you speak to somebody in Estonia, they would say they're from Nordics. They're part of the Nordics country. And in terms of marketing, this is important how you phrase things and how you put things. For instance, if we insert an award, Pan-Baltic, let's assume a Pan-Baltic award for the car that is like, I don't know, the most beloved model. That might appeal to somebody in Latvia or Lithuania if you put it as a part of your marketing message. If you put it for Estonians, they're like, what? We're not Baltics. So for them, for instance, much more appealing are the awards giving in the Nordics market or the Nordics thing. And this is, I think, also one of those kind of fundamental things, like how do you see yourself? Because this is about your reality and about your perception of the world. And this is where I found some differences.
But when it comes to, communication and campaigns, it feels like you try to find those things that unites us and work with more universal insights so that you don't have to localize too much.
We kind of, yes, we always, we're based mostly in Riga, our headquarters are here, this is where our campaigns are made, but we do try with every campaign to see how well it would fit for the specific market, especially the wording, the copy, so it would actually make sense for the market. And we try whenever possible to adjust, to fine-tune, to make sure it's appealing. I would say we have succeeded with various degrees. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't succeed. But if we can use the example of the campaign we already talked about, this Never Say Never actually worked really well in all of the markets. And I think this is because it evoked those primary emotional response, which is joy and smile and surprise. This is why it worked, because those things are...
father, what can be more universal in a way?
Exactly. So this kind of, when you try to appeal through those universal values or common values, I think this is one of the ways how you can do something that works Baltic-wise.
And I think it was also pretty smart in this Tiguan balloon CGI videos where you kind of localized, showing Vilnius architecture, and then Tallinn's most famous probably buildings, and then Riga.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt that this is, from us, not somewhere globally, just kind of rolling through the world.
Yeah. One more thing I've noticed with the campaigns, for instance, this is just small and very automotive, but I think it's quite fun. When you take a picture of a car, for instance, and you use that picture for some sort of advertising, it's very important what kind of number plates it has. So if the picture is coming from the factory, it has Wolfsburg, so Deutsche number plates. And these are the least appealing to the customer. Even if you have a lower quality picture, but that picture has the local number plates, you would see the engagement skyrocketing. It's the same, technically the same picture. It's sometimes even of worse quality, but the number plates, as you said, that's reflecting this being local is actually
devil in details.
Makes a difference.
Great. So do you actually test the campaigns in the Baltics before you launch them, or how do you kind of monitor the results? What's your approach to kind of, exercising this insurance of marketing?
The simple answer is yes. The more realistic one, it depends. Basically, I work for the car importer, which is very sales-driven organization, very fast-paced. So apart from the A/B testing for digital campaigns, we do most of our evaluation post work. So we first do the work, then we do our evaluation. We see what kind of mistakes or improvements that we could make, and we try to adopt it for the next campaign we do. So this is the practice that we usually have.
The real life tests, basically.
Yeah. This is, I guess, sometimes I would love to do it otherwise, but I guess this is not possible in the conditions and in the industry we're in. But one of the kind of, if you look at how do we measure and what do we look at, one of the recent things that we're starting to look at is likability. So basically how much your brand is liked or disliked, because and this is something that Factory as well believes, so the global brand, and we support that this is the good indication of the long-term effects of your marketing efforts and of long-term sales. So we do measure that by multiple things. So first of all, we have the global data that shows us what is the likability of the Volkswagen brand per se in Europe, for instance, or global wise. And then locally, we try to analyze the post-campaign. So we do some focus groups for the major campaigns. We analyze social media sentiments and this kind of stuff to see how much people actually liked what we put in front of them, and then try to make adjustment based on that.
All right, and it was interesting to read again in LinkedIn that you recently took AI Academy course in Riga Business School and concluded that you don't believe that AI will replace you anytime soon. I think all of us really try to believe this to keep us, hopeful. and that you have also high hopes for AI to actually help to generate content. So you already mentioned in previous campaigns. So do you really think that using AI is a great tool also in next coming years in marketing?
Definitely. And I think the proper word for describing what AI is actually a tool. It's a great tool. It has loads of possibilities. And what I personally like about it a lot is like what we know what is AI today is not what it's going to be tomorrow. It's like constantly evolving concept. So whatever is not possible today is possible tomorrow. And who knows what is possible in the few years' time. I must be honest, we do like AI. So if you look at our campaigns for the last 12 months, every single campaign have had some sort of AI element, sometimes fully made, sometimes with some perks elements here and there, but we did like it and we enjoy it. And I must say that for the first time when we experimented with AI, it didn't provide any time or cost-saving options for us. But I think it was a great learning curve. So we learned a lot in the process of that. And now I can confidently say that as a minimum, it provides a time saving. As a maximum, sometimes you can even have some cost savings. And what I also think, it kind of widens the possibilities for you, because we do have constraints, money constraints. I don't know, flying the car over the Baltic countries would not be possible. We don't have a budget for that, technically. Sometimes there's physics, simple physics. Sometimes there's time. Sometimes there's many other things. And AI actually removes loads of those constraints from you, so it allows you to think wider, to do things that were previously impossible. And this is what I love about this tool. For me, it's also, I treat it as an assistant. It's like a very skilled and clever assistant. If you know specifically what task to give it, it can help you loads. But at the same time, it's not a substitute for human creativity, and I don't think it will be in any time in the future. It allows you to actually concentrate on the fun part of our jobs as marketers, so you can delegate more monotonous tasks to somebody who's better at it.
Yeah, it's a bit like, automation in production, let's say, of cars. It all started with a manual process, and maybe still is for some of most exclusive cars like R8. I think they were some time ago saying that, it's one of the only cars we are still, mostly hand producing. Yeah. But normally, of course, this is routine work that we are happy to, give to robots or in this case, to AI.
Yeah.
Yes, I can only agree here. So maybe, all great, all successful, everything is fantastic. So any challenges that you would want to share? Is it, leading Baltic marketing team? Because again, the Baltics, and as we know, might be different, aesthetics and humor and so on, or maybe, some other challenges that you would share, what working with Volkswagen in the Baltics.
Of course, it's like probably painted a picture of all this being super fun and cool. It is, but at the same time, it's tough and hard work. And I think, as previously mentioned, there's a lot of disruptive forces on the market today. So working for the automotive has never been more challenging, but at the same time has never been more fun. How the things are going to develop, how they're going to go about every single time, like the things changing so rapidly. The other thing is, of course, as I said, we are an importer. So we're primarily a sales-driven organization. So balancing between pure branding and sales needs, also for me as a marketer, is a constant battle that we're having. The recent research says that you should spend at least 60% of your marketing efforts on branding. This is the only way how you can actually
60-40, the golden rule by Les
60-40, precisely 60-40. But I guess in a place as a car importer with a very sales-driven organization, this is not always possible. So this is one of the challenges. Then, of course, we're having a Baltic team. There's geographical constraints, if you kind of can put it, and trying to make sure that everybody's heard, everybody's aligned, everybody's on the same page. This is something that arises from time to time. But overall, I do like working Baltic. I do like having an international team. I think it widens your horizon and widens the scope of your understanding of how the things work. So yes, challenging, as many things in the automotive industry today, but a lot of fun. I think challenge is always
And
room
where do you see kind of the whole trend of, kind of part of Gen Z of culture that why do I own the car if I can, just rent it whenever I need? This and kind of on-demand kind of thinking and rent approach. Is it rather opportunity in the future, or it's one of those challenges and threats?
I think this one is definitely an opportunity because the Gen Zs are not opposed to driving. They do like driving.
Yeah.
What they are opposed to is ownership. And this is a whole different story. But in order for them to drive, they have to rent it for somebody. So there's
still got to buy it.
Exactly. There's still an owner. So first, there's of course a business opportunities for the manufacturers, for the dealers, for everybody to offer this more as a subscription services rather than ownership. Second of all, there's still those huge car sharing companies. Even in the Baltics here, we have loads of clients like this for us personally as Volkswagen who are still buying those cars. So yeah, if you're not willing to own one, it doesn't mean you're not willing to drive one. So this is just an opportunity just to change, and maybe from the manufacturer change a bit in a way who is the client and how do you speak to that. But still, in the end of the day, even if you're renting a Bolt, you're still renting from the Bolt a specific vehicle, and you as a single customer have your own wishes of what you want to drive. And probably this is why all those car sharing companies recently adding like more premium brands to their car park worked really, really well for them, despite that they're charging the higher premium for those vehicles.
Yeah, and I think actually these car rentals or car sharing companies, I think if you can try the car, is it EV or it's a kind of whatever new car, I think it's actually part of test drive.
Definitely, yeah.
And it can be one of the probably the most effective tools how you can make people to actually buy that car if
100%.
if those cars get on the streets, right? Right, so actually we have to shortly touch one event that is happening very soon, and this is the Baltic Brand Forum, which is happening for the 6th year in a row, and Volkswagen and Moller Baltic Import has been our partners for several years now. So last year we were in Tallinn with Volkswagen Baltics is partner of the forum. So last year we went to Tallinn, Fotografiska, where Baltic brand teams could enjoy the company of Volkswagen ID buses, actually one new one, brand new, and then also one kind of from the hipster times. But this September, the forum is in Riga, Circus Arena, and it's truly a great fit with the Volkswagen, as the forum topic this year is the power of humor and entertainment. And I think if there is one brand who from car industry that really deserves to be, on the stage or in part of the forum, then Volkswagen definitely is. But the question, which Volkswagen model can we expect to be showcased this year and why?
Well, we're actually going to bring you the very best that we have. We're going to bring the ID.7 Tourer, which is our ultimate EV flagship. This car can do almost 700 kilometers on a single charge. It has massage seats, amazing comfort, premium feel. It's just basically the best of the best. If you want to know what is Volkswagen capable on the EV market, this is precisely it. This is the ID.7 Tourer. We're very proud of it. We're 100% sure people are going to like it. And what's more, we're going to offer the opportunity to win a test drive with this car. So for the participants, there's a great opportunity, especially if you haven't tested any EVs, to start with the best of the best.
Sounds great, and sounds like another good reason to join the forum crowd on 20th of September in Riga Circus. And a couple of questions that we ask every guest, and you will be no exception here. Can you share what other brand besides Volkswagen? We talked enough. What other brands do you admire, or one or two, and why is that?
Sure. I don't know, but somehow those questions always make me feel nervous because you have to pick something from such a huge number of options, but I guess I will just come with a few things that come to my mind. So first of all, I'm actually going to mention Tesla because I think it's one of the most disruptive forces on the automotive markets recently. And while, as we discussed, you may have different opinions about the personality of its of the Elon Musk, I think what he managed to do, he managed to build the community, and he managed to actually make everybody talk about the EVs, and this is something that is admirable. Also, his like relentless belief in what he's doing, despite of everything else, is also something that I think is admirable. The next Again, a car brand. I'm sorry, I have a professional deficiency.
No, it's okay. This shows your, true passions here, I think.
Yeah, it's a Porsche, but for a completely different reasons. I think they managed to kind of stay true to what they are, despite of the market constantly changing. And I don't know if you have managed to see the recent ad for the new electric Macan that was directed by Dua Lipa.
I have to check.
Yeah, and I think this is such a great way of how you blend being relevant and being here and now with your audience while still staying true to who you actually are. The third one would be Nike. And the reason is the brand activism. I actually did my master thesis a couple of years ago on the brand activism, and especially of this Colin Kaepernick campaign when they used him despite of the fact. And I think this is precisely what Nike brands stand for. They stand like, this is either that or this. And the recent campaign that was so discussed and I think received a lot of criticism. Yes, for the Olympics. I actually loved it. I think it's very to the point. I know that it was criticized.
Brutally honest
it's
approach.
Brutally honest approach. And I don't know if you have ever met the professional athletes. This is how they are. They're not coming there for the participation. They're coming for the win. So I think it was very much to the point for what was meant to be. I know it's criticized for being overly concentrated on wins at all costs, but I think it was precisely what they wanted. It was disruptive. People talked about it, and it's very true to what Nike is. So I loved it personally.
Yeah, but again, and as they I think said also, one of those messages that it's not for everyone. It's for winners.
Precisely, but I think this is what Nike stands at all for. This is not for everyone. This is for the people who share our belief, and this way they're very clear, and in this way their audience can be loyal to them. I don't think that everybody can afford this kind of rhetoric, but I think Nike has, and this is how they build the brand.
Bravery and guts to do so.
Build the brand around it.
Great, all of those are amazing brands, and especially great to hear you sharing the story of one of the competitors, let's say. But I agree. I mean, Tesla and Elon has done breakthrough actually with EVs, and I read his book despite his also controversial personality, and it's still of course kind of very inspiring how much he has devoted of his life energy, sleeping on the factory floors just to make sure that they get the cost of the car right, so that actually it can become a mass car and so on. So another question we ask is, where do you get inspiration, or where do you how do you reload your creative batteries?
Mm-hmm. For me, nothing beats a travel. If I want to recharge, I prefer something nature, preferably containing some sort of physical activity. I do like hiking. I do like mountains. I actually do CrossFit in my spare time, so I guess it's all put together. But when it comes to drawing inspiration, I guess traveling again, but here is more about going out of your bubble. I think we all spend too much time in our own bubble with the people we feel comfortable with. So going out there, watching people, talking to people, sharing food, exchanging ideas, preferably the ideas that you haven't come across before. But I think that it's not about how far you go or where precisely you go. Sometimes you just need to get out. For me, even the trip to the gas station in neighboring countries can actually be inspiring. It's just as long as you're open to that inspiration, you're open. But yeah, definitely travel.
So people, get out right now. If you feel stuck, of course. And the last one, what's your moonshot goal, or what would ultimate success for you look like in a foreseeing future?
Okay, so I guess shoot for the moon and you're gonna end up among the stars. I think the saying was something like this. For me personally, I am very passionate about the industry I'm in, so I would love to go and work on a manufacturer side, to actually go to and work for the people who build the brand from the very beginning, who kind of determine what it is, how it is, and how it's impactful on a global scale. Doing something like this on a global scale would be very much interesting, and I think very much enrich me as a person and my professional expertise. So yeah, I would love to do something like this at some point in time in the future. But for me, it's not that much about the specific company or a specific job. It's more about having this freedom to explore and having this opportunity to grow with the brand, and having doing something impactful. I guess this is something that this is how the success for me looks
Baltics is big and great, but the world is
bigger,
bigger than this.
But I think you should should always stay a little bit hungry. You should never be very comfortable with where you are. So you should always strive for more, and then you will get there.
All right. So thanks so much for coming in here in our Riga podcast studio. And I think you are going to vacation next week.
Yes.
So getting out, really doing this. And it was really great to have you. And we see rest of Volkswagen team, marketing team in Riga Circus in September 20 with your amazing new and the best in class electrical vehicle. See you soon, and let's encourage everybody to get a bit more brave and a bit more witty in their communication, so that people can enjoy the ads, not just try to escape them.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.